Hey Saab people, in today's video I'm so insanely excited to reveal my custom drive shaft that I had made for the Saab 9-3 all-wheel drive. If you own an all-wheel drive Saab, you know that these drive shafts are a huge problem area on these cars. The U-joints fail. There's an Alfa Romeo U-joint that is compatible to work with the stock drive shaft, but technically they're not meant to be replaced. They're also non-serviceable. The other problem with this drive shaft is the carrier bearings are completely non-serviceable. They are built onto the shaft and the shaft is friction welded together from the factory, so you cannot service it. This and the drive shaft is non-separable. It's hard to take in and out of the car. It fails because the rubbers are super flimsy. They're just a terrible design. Knowing all of this and having spare drive shafts laying around, I decided to reach out to a fabrication shop. I did a ton of legwork, paid a serious amount of money to have this made, but I'm super excited for the final result. And now I'm gonna share that with you guys and show you what it looks like. I'm gonna go over the system I'm kind of thinking so that I can start distributing these to you guys. Without further ado, let me show you what the stock drive shaft looks like, and then we will get into what the new performance drive shaft looks like. We'll start with the removal of the stock drive shaft bolts. There are 4, there's 2 on each carrier. So go ahead and get these off. Next, we'll go to the back of the drive shaft and undo the 6 bolts in the rear. These are T45s. Next, we'll lower the middle section of the rear differential, so undo the 2 18mm bolts there, and it will lower the rear out. Next, we'll pull the front of the drive shaft out of the transfer case using a large pry bar. Now that it's removed from the car, let's take a look at the stock drive shaft. You can tell just how beat up this is. It's only about 2.5 years old. You can see how much play is in this carrier right here. The bushing is actually torn on this. I'm super lucky that my custom drive shaft is ready to be installed now, otherwise this would have been a tow bill. Now on the rear that's not broken, I'll show you just how much play is in this carrier. You can see just how sloppy this is. There is supposed to be a bit of play in these, but honestly this much is just too much. Drive shafts are supposed to have a little bit of cushion here, but the amount that this has is just going to allow you to feel so much excess play in the drivetrain. Now we're taking a look at the U-joint right here. You can see just how small this U-joint is in comparison to a lot of other makes and models on the road. These are also incredibly difficult to replace. They're really not meant to be replaced, to be honest. But in my humble opinion, these were just made very poorly. Because they're this small, they break very, very easily. Let's go ahead and check out the custom-made drive shaft. This drive shaft utilizes the same front and rear connection. It also utilizes a good bit of the same tubing that's on the stock drive shaft, and it reuses the same carrier brackets. Now what's different about this drive shaft is the flanges in the middle have been upgraded from the small Saab ones with the very difficult to replace U-joints. These have been upgraded to a Toyota flange with Toyota U-joints, and the U-joints are now greasable and easy to replace. This flange is also separable, which makes this a true 3-piece drive shaft, very easy to replace, and it's going to be much easier to replace individual components on this drive shaft by being able to take it apart section by section and remove only what you need off of the car. And when I say parts replacement is going to be very easy, that's because almost everything on this drive shaft is now completely replaceable. At least all the problem areas are. As I said, the U-joints are already easier to replace and service. Let's talk about these carriers. The carriers were completely gutted, and custom machined is a press-in cushion that holds in the new carrier bearing and bushing assembly. This special made cushion has also been not only pressed into the bracket, but it's also adhesed in place so it can't come out. This bushing and carrier bearing assembly is from a BMW. It utilizes a stiffer material that is thicker and better quality. Completely replaceable bearing. It taps out one direction when you take this apart, so that's completely replaceable. The rubber on this should not go bad, but if it does, there is a way to replace that if I'm not mistaken. Because everything is now remade with higher quality parts, this drive shaft should be much more durable under higher power, and we should feel a lot less drivetrain slop. Let's go ahead and take a quick look at the welding job that was done on this. In all the different areas, you can see the weights are here. It says boot bad because I do have to replace that rear over there, no big deal. That's still the same. It's interchangeable with a Volvo. And as I said, the front is the same, so you can still order boots for that. This is a very clean looking drive shaft. It is unpainted. I wanted to show everything as it was made and be able to show all the welds and everything with it unpainted. Now let's take a side-by-side comparison of these two drive shafts. You can see just how much larger the new U-joints are in comparison to the old ones. Now let's see the play in these carrier assemblies. On the new one, there's very little slop in this, just enough to soak up drivetrain vibrations. And then this one, you can see how much more play is in it. There are definitely things that I am missing and other work that has been put into this drive shaft as well. But without further ado, let's still get this on the car. You've been on YouTube before, so. Unlike the stock drive shaft, you can see how fast this front section is able to be put in instead of having to mess around holding an entire 3-piece drive shaft over my head. That one. Now I'm headed under the car with the rear section of the drive shaft. I'm going to lift it up over the exhaust like this. I'll set the back of it against the rear differential. We'll toss a couple of bolts through it to get it all the way on. And just like that, we're now seated all the way on, and we can continue with the rest. While we're installing this, we no longer have to hold the whole weight of the drive shaft. We can go section by section here. Now we are going to go ahead and get this bolted up into place next. Then we will put on our center section and bolt it up to this flange here and this flange up here. And then we will bolt on the final carrier. Just for my sake, I'm trying to make sure that the bolts are going in the exact place that each bolt came from. But as long as you have your alignment bolt and your tightening bolts offset by 1 so that they're diagonal from each other, you'll be all set. I mean, obviously you want to make sure that your alignment marks are all straight. We'll now go with an alignment bolt here. And we will put our bolt through with 1 washer this way. And then we will put our nut on the back side with a washer here. This. Just tighten that one first, and then we'll tighten them all down after. We'll go to this one here. So if our alignment marks are all in line like this properly, all the way down, we have a alignment bolt on the bottom. So it's the non-gold bolt right here. We would also want to have a non-gold bolt here as well to have the balance be the same. We would do a gold bolt here, non-gold bolt here, just like this one, gold bolt, non-gold bolt. Because of our front joint having back and forth play, we're able to pull this shaft together in order to get our bolts through and get the flange tightened down. Now I have all the bolts tightened down, the 6 in the rear, the 4 for the carriers, and the 8 for the flanges, all set. Don't forget to tighten up your rear differential bolts that we loosened in the beginning. You need to make sure that your drive shaft on the front is completely flush with the transfer case. You'll think it's all the way in and it won't be. You need to take a chisel and tap the back of this edge right here with a hammer until it's completely flush and you cannot see the rubber O-ring that's orange on the top here. So make sure the silver plate is completely flush with this. I can't stress it enough. I have almost ruined transfer cases by doing that. Alrighty guys, it took me a while to paint this thing. Hit the whole drive shaft with 1 coat of VHT chassis paint, and then it started to fisheye like crazy even though I had already wiped it down with acetone. And it turns out the rag I had also used with silicone spray. So in trying to clean the drive shaft, I actually made it worse for adhesion. I went ahead and did acetone with paper towels, and I repainted the entire drive shaft. You can definitely see the imperfections in it, but that's just because the whole drive shaft was sandblasted when rebuilt. There's a couple of spots with fisheye, but the whole drive shaft is now painted black, and so is part of the exhaust, but that'll burn off. The test drive will be me taking it home, so I will let you know how it drives. Final impressions of the drive shaft, it rides very, very smooth. It's incredible. It's such an amazing improvement over factory. I can barely put words to it, honestly. Tested the shaft for about 3 weeks in the car with no all-wheel drive just because it was broken. It rode completely smooth. In the past couple of days, I have been beating the shit out of the car with all-wheel drive. I've been doing stop and go, drag style launches, 30 rolls. I've been doing 50 rolls, 60 rolls on the interstate. Gotten the drive shaft up to about 110 miles an hour. And it rides completely smooth all the way. Something I was very unimpressed with the factory setup from the beginning was on acceleration or deceleration, there was just this strange back to front and front to back jiggle that the drive shaft had. That has been near completely eliminated. And something else that has helped the drivetrain tremendously are the new friction discs and plates that I've put in the clutch pack. It's a racing diffs setup. It's put the rear differential back to peak performance, which has been very enjoyable to drive with. For the first time, I've been driving without any hesitation in my mind about, is my drive shaft bad? Is it going to be $1,300 I'm going to have to put out? This drive shaft is so strong and so well made that I no longer have that concern. And if something does break, each individual component is right about 50 bucks instead of $1,300 and 8 weeks from Sweden. Essentially, reduce drivetrain vibrations unless you are like dead stop launching it. You are obviously still going to feel a vibration because you have all kinds of friction discs locking in and power kicking to the rear wheels very, very fast. So you're gonna feel that no matter what, but the drivetrain slop has been tremendously reduced, which has been very enjoyable to drive with. With everything being thicker and the welds being better on this drive shaft should also be able to handle more power. Not like the stock one couldn't necessarily. With age and the way that they're manufactured, there's always just been that concern in my mind. I'm kind of thinking like a core style sale. So if you send me payment, I'll ship you out a drive shaft ready, so there's no wait time for you guys except for the bare shipping itself. If you send me a core, then I will give you a certain amount of money off the drive shaft. You'll be supporting a Saab community member and you'll be bettering your car. But like I said, guys, it does come with a pretty hefty price and it is going to be a bit more than the stock drive shaft. So I'm not sure exactly what that price is going to be. Mine will be the most expensive one because all the time and research had to be put in, all the measurements had to be taken, and everything had to be cut up. Excess parts had to be ordered to do trial and error, and I had to pay for all of that. That being said, that should mean that now they're going to be cheaper to reproduce. So I will keep you guys in the loop on these. If and when I release them, depending on how good the price is, I will drop it on my Instagram, so make sure to follow that. It's down here in the bottom left. Next video coming up is going to be the rear differential clutch pack replacement. I'd like to get some footage of a GoPro under the car, seeing how the drive shaft is spinning and see how much play is in it when I'm doing launches. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for watching the video. Don't forget to like and subscribe. It seriously supports the channel, and I'll catch you in the next one.